but suburbs for the first time. I went to Indiana.
Oh yeah. Can I ask which town? Because that makes a huge difference.
I don't know. I went to the market.
Okay, so you were in Valparaiso. That's where I grew up.
I have so
That
many
town is where I
questions.
grew up. Yeah.
How did that feel growing up there?
I mean, it's like I feel like and it's funny. I made this I riffed this joke last night because I was like, oh, I'm from Indiana, and somebody's like, are you from the region? And I was like, yeah, and she's like, hell yeah, I'm from the region, and I did this riff because like there's another region rat there, and so that's like what you call people from the region. So the region's Northwest Indiana.
Okay.
So Northwest Indiana, it's like Hammond, Munster. I include Gary. Some people are like, Gary doesn't even include Gary. Gary's its own thing. You can't include Gary in Northwest Indiana. I was like, whatever. You're dumb. It's literally geographically is part of Northwest Indiana. So the riff that I did is I was like, yeah, Northwest Indiana, like region, like Northwest Indiana is called the region, y'all. Like you got to understand, like it's this little pocket of Indiana that's looped with Chicago, and we're on Central Time Zone. And I said everyone in Illinois hates us because they think we're trashy, right? They think that we're trashy and beneath the Illinoisans. I was like, whereas everybody else in Indiana hates us because they think we're whores. So it's just like we can't win with anywhere other than like our unique little bubble. Because like you tell people from Illinois you're from Northwest Indiana, they're judgy in a different way than when you tell people from the rest of Indiana that you're from Northwest Indiana.
What was it like growing up in Indiana?
I feel like, well, it's like I said, I think I had Northwest Indiana, particularly that region. I had the weird experience of like my dad's side of the family was like very liberal, very progressive, like a lot of artists, a lot of biracial relationships, a lot of like, honestly, like I feel bad being like a lot of gay people, but a lot of gay people. Like my grandma has 5 sisters. She's one of 6. And 3 out of the 6, so 50% of the sisters are gay.
Wow. Okay.
And have partners. So I was like, yeah, like when people at school would talk about being gay being a bad thing, it was like really hard for me to process because I was like, literally 50% of my family is gay. So
are you gay?
Yeah, I'm bisexual. But yeah, it was like something that I like had always accepted as like, oh, you can just like be attracted to whoever you're attracted to, like because it was something that I saw from a very young age. But then it's like on my mom's side of things, you have like very like blue collar white farmer types who like don't really get around people of other races, other backgrounds. So I had like this very kind of just like 2 completely different ways of seeing things. Yeah, the duality. That's a good word for it. Yeah. I was like trying to think of the right word to say. But yeah, I think I definitely like leaned more into like my dad's side of the family, but I will say it's like the one thing that I've gotten from my mom's side of the family that I wish I could kind of relax a bit on is that they are all very like work driven. Like the women on my mom's side of the family and like the men on my mom's side of the family will literally like work themselves to death, like to the point of like illness or exhaustion, whereas my dad's side of the family is so laid back about things that we almost get nothing done. Like picking a restaurant with my dad's side of the family, impossible. Like we're going to be discussing which restaurant to go to for like 4 hours. Whereas like my mom's side of the family, they don't really like going out to eat. They're like, we're going to cook at home. It's going to be bland, flavorless food with no seasoning in it.
It is
but we're
nutrients.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to cook it at home though. So it's like, yeah. And it's funny because I have recently had to step up. Because my mom's, or her name's Donna.
Okay.
Grandma Donna. She is like kind of completely in need of help with everything because she's just become very frail. She does everything with a walker. And they have me come help give her a bath, which she did not want to happen at first. Donna was like, hell fucking no way is my like just too prideful to accept that, like, because for a long time it was just my mom and my aunt were doing all the care. And I was like, you guys can't sustainably do this. Also, my mom and my aunt weigh like 100 pounds soaking wet each. So I'm like, how are you lifting this woman into a tub? Like it's just somebody's gonna get hurt. You know what I mean? So I was like, please let me help you guys. Like, please let me come help with this one thing. Like if you're, because yeah, there's just the pride. All of them are like, oh no, we're fine. We got it. And it's like, I notice myself, like I'll be struggling to carry things. And sometimes I'll be like somebody like you or somebody like who could easily help me carry. Will be like, oh, Jamie, like you got your speaker. You got your, I'm like, yeah, I got it. And they're like, see, this is why I hate women, because you don't got it. Like you don't, like you clearly need help, but you won't accept it. And I'm like, that's my mom's side of the family for sure. Just like manifesting in that interaction.
If the way I'm picturing your family is the purest form of a yin yang, almost.
Yeah.
It seems like, and opposites attract, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't put words in your mouth, but it seems like you're almost trying to find the balance between your mom and your dad and yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I would say it's like I feel like, and it's funny because I say like my mom will like work herself into exhaustion. Also, there's like, you guys can't see at home, but there's a very cute cat just like playing with the curtain to my left. So I'm trying not to be distracted by it. But I say my mom is like works really hard, but she's also very sensitive and very emotional, like very typical like feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like my dad, and I joke about this in my stand-up, but my dad is very like, everything is anger. Like he expresses like all of his emotions as anger. Like when he's sad or like hurt, the only way he knows how to articulate that is through anger. And so it's like, I joke, and again, this is another thing I joke about in my stand-up, but it's like my dad very much like, I think because I have a little brother now, but at the time that I was growing up, my dad had 3 daughters. And so I think he's almost kind of like treated me as like the son, like that he had, and like kind of instilled in me this idea of like, no, we're going to hold stuff close to our chest. And like the joke that I make in my stand-up is like, we're going to overreact in 6 to 8 months on like a Home Depot employee. Like that's when we're going to like lash out about this stuff. But it's like, for me, I'm trying to find the balance between like, yeah, it's almost to some degree as well, like the masculine and feminine energy of, I definitely think that like, I feel more like powerful in being like wall up and like react to everything with anger, but I'm trying to like not lean into that. I'm trying to actually take time to slow down and articulate like, what am I actually feeling right now?
Did you start work? How old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh, okay. Did you start working on that throughout the pandemic, or when did that start to?
So it's like, I've been in therapy since I was like 18. Mm-hmm. So I've been in therapy for like 11 years. But it's been on again, off again, because I'm fortunately, because of like the way my mom's family thinks about things, I've had a few periods of like, I'm cured. Like, yeah. I've figured it. And that's just not how therapy works. It's kind of like going to the gym. You have to keep going. Because it's like, even when things are going well, like to compare it to the gym metaphor, even when you're really in shape, it's good to like, you got to keep that muscle going. But I think it's something that it's like, I had tried for so long to address. But like, I do think that being alone during the pandemic really forced me to acknowledge and kind of accept the fact that I had made a lot of excuses for myself to not grow. And I made a lot of it about like, well, this is just how I am. And these people just didn't understand me. When it's like, no, like at the bottom line, at the end of the day, I think like the big shift for me was realizing like, it's like, oh, I actually have full control over my own destiny and like how I see the world and how things go for me. Like, yeah, things will happen out of my control, but I have complete control over my reaction to it. And it's something that I like would say to my kids that I was teaching, but I wasn't really like applying to my own life, you know? Yeah, so I feel like the pandemic did help, but
I mean, life will continue moving forward. And in retrospect on all of this, like, I what would they say? Hindsight's 20/20. Like, yeah, maybe 10, 15 years from now, looking back, I probably starting from the Trump era till wherever the fuck we are now, we'll probably understand what happened.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened. Yeah. I think, for myself, I'm 30, so we're about the same age. Mm-hmm. And for myself, with the whole taking responsibility for yourself, I go back and forth with that. Mm-hmm. How long until you moved to Illinois, to the city?
Oh, like how long have I been living?
Yeah, like when did you say, oh, I'm going to be a performer and I'm going to go pursue that?
So I've known I wanted to be a performer since I was like in middle school. Mm-hmm. Much to my parents' dismay, I will say, because they're both engineers. Mm-hmm. And so they came from single parent households. Like they were both raised by my grandmas, and my grandpa on my mom's side like was around, but we don't talk about Bruno. No. Yeah. No, I mean, like, we talk about him, but it's just like, I don't personally care for him. I think he's a piece of shit. I don't think he listens to podcasts, so he probably won't hear this. So I feel comfortable saying that. I don't think, when I think of the men in my life who have been a positive example of like what it is to be a good man, he is like literally, when we say yin and yang, he is the literal opposite of like, I think of So like my Uncle Ken, my Aunt Susan's husband, is to me like the most wonderful example of like being a like emotionally mature, well-developed man. And then it's like on the other side of the coin, there was my grandpa, my mom, my mom's side, who I won't call by name, but yeah, he just stunk. And so I think like because my parents came from these sort of like, I don't want to say broken homes, because there's no such thing as broken, just like they came from childhood trauma. Yeah, they came from these experiences of being raised in a scarcity situation and being told like you are the only way you're going to get out of this. You have to make enough money.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah. So then to have a child that's like, I want to have a job that makes me no money, when it's like I'm a straight A student and there's so many things I could do. I think that was incredibly frustrating for them. They were like, you could be a doctor, like you could do anything, and you wanna write and perform. What the like? I'm imitating my dad now, but it's like I think it was just they didn't trust in my vision and the ability that like I would have to make money for it. And I think that their distrust of it held me back for a long time, because they kind of convinced me like you're not going to be able to make money doing this. And I think that like when I finally let that go, I've been able to have a lot more. I wouldn't say I'm like quitting my other part-time jobs yet, but it's like I've been able to make money doing this by like letting go of that limiting belief about you have to struggle to be an artist. Artists struggle. Artists don't have enough. Like, I think that was something that my parents kind of put there that I had to unlearn. Yeah. Because it's like, I always knew I wanted to do this, but it was like, it was more so just like, I was kind of told like, okay, well, if you want to do that, you know, get ready to have a terrible life. And it's just like, no, you could have a beautiful, amazing life doing this. And it's like, I love my parents and I'm grateful for like their journey and their experience that led them to that conclusion, but I had to let that go. I had to completely just like let that limiting belief go.
That's very healthy of you, and it seems to be working on that fucking Marquee.
I will say it felt so good to like, it's like I talked about my Aunt Susan, my Uncle Ken, and I love all of my relatives, but they're like my Aunt Susan is somebody who I, ever since I was a little kid, have just admired so much. So she went to school for like probably like 8 years, and by school I mean college. She has like 6 degrees. She like has a degree in like zoology, biology. She like was a really skilled I forget which instrument now, but she like originally was in school for music, and then she became like this brilliant scientist. And she's somebody that just like, yeah, like her ability to just kind of take the time that she needed to take to figure out like, this is exactly what I need to be doing. And just how much she knows. And it's like my cousins and my uncle will poke fun at like, oh, if you really want to know about the stats of the pandemic and like mask wearing versus not mask wearing, like you can ask Susan and she'll talk to you about it for 4.5 hours so you fall asleep. But it's like I love that she was like an example for me, like such an intelligent woman. And then it just felt so good to be able to like, I showed her my picture of me on the Marquee. That's where I was getting this. Like, this is somebody I've always looked up to, and it's like, yeah, I'm not doing necessarily what she is doing. And she even says to me, she's like, I do not envy your like what you do at all. She's like, I can't imagine like, well, you have to be out late at night. Not for Susan. She's like, not for me. She's like, B of all, you have to like, like kind of pitch yourself. Because as a scientist, she does her research. She does her research.
Facts and figures.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like I have to literally like consistently be selling myself to everybody to get work. She's like, that makes the introvert in me want to just die for you. I don't know how you do that.
Well, it seems like you come from an incredibly, I mean, for all their flaws, an incredibly intelligent family. Hardworking and intelligent. And
I would say, like, incredibly intelligent and just badass women. Like, that's one thing. It's like, the male figures were a couple, like, that I was consistent. Like, I mean, I would say it was, like, probably, like, four to five prominent male figures. And I say probably like 3 out of those like struggled with or like still continue to struggle with emotional intelligence and just like being a like decent man. Yeah. But then it's like the ones who were with it were so with it. So it's like that duality again of like, I do find sometimes in my past, I've been attracted to these very toxic, manipulative types of men. And I'm like, oh, like, when I look back now, I'm like, oh, that's me leaning into, like, me being drawn to, like, those 3 to 4 examples of, like, chaos. Because it's like, you know, it wasn't necessarily, like, my parents or, like, other, you know, like, some of the couples around me were very stable and good. But then it's like, I would also witness these, like, chaotic, like, I definitely think, the relationship between, like, my grandfather and my mom is one that, like, really stuck with me, because it's like she would, like, I just have this memory of, like, as a child, for his birthday, she went out of her way to, like, she tried to plan, like, the perfect gift for him, and she was so excited to, like, give it to him, and he was just like, oh, you might as well take it back, I already have all this stuff. And my mom was just, like, crying in the car on the way home. And I think it's just like that I found myself, like, I've dated that dude. And it's like, I think it's because it's like that, like, core memory of, like, seeing my mom, like, really want to impress this person, like, really want their approval. I think that kind of got passed down to me, and that's something that I've had to be like, no, fuck that dude. Like, that's his problem. That's not my mom's problem. My mom was thoughtful and considerate, and he was a huge asshole. And it's like, all I can hope is that, you know, in his final years of life, he eventually will come around and realize the error of his ways. That's what I can hope for him. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things that it's like, hindsight 2020, like you said. It's like I'm really a huge fan of this, like, psychology concept that, like, all of us are made up of, like, our child ego state, our parent ego state, and our adult ego state. And basically what this says is, it's like your inner child is, like, the curious little kid just, like, trying to figure everything out. So you have certain beliefs from that child ego state, and, like, and that basically is formed, like, that ego is formed the first, like, 5 years you're alive. Then you have your parent ego state, which is, like, everything your parents, your teachers, everyone around you from, like, birth to 5 tells you about the world to keep you safe. And then your adult ego is, like, it's basically your responsibility to kind of go back once you become an adult and discern between your child and your parent what information was stored in your brain computer that is helpful to you, and what information was stored there that was a lie that they told you to, like, keep you safe, or because
Projecting
they have limiting beliefs. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, I think that, like, mature, healthy adults, it's so important for us to, like, not even just, like, one time and then, I passed it, I can leave therapy, but, like, regularly be assessing
consistency.
Yes. And, like, the consistency of, like, assessing what is in my brain and exists here that is not serving me. That is, like, something I'm holding on to from the past that is, like, holding me back. Because it's like, a certain thing at a certain time, like, if a parent tells you, you have to finish your dinner because, you know, there's
starving kids
in Africa.
That
It makes me roll my eyes now, but it's like, that came from, because they grew up in households where there was nothing to eat. Whereas it's like, my parents are both engineers, and, like, I would say, like, we were the weird thing where it was like, my parents are both engineers, but they had no financial intelligence and did not know how to spend money. So it's like, and they I wouldn't say they both, but definitely, like, my dad struggled with addiction issues, like, earlier in my childhood. So I think it was the kind of thing where it was like, we had some money. Yeah, he was an alcoholic, but he is all good now.
Okay.
But he
Are they gonna listen to
what?
Are they gonna listen to this?
I mean, probably not. They don't come. I mean, and I'm gonna call them out on this. They haven't come to one of my shows in, like, 6 years.
Well, I'm gonna clip that.
Yeah, I was like, they haven't come to one of my shows in, like, 6 years. It's because, like, I love my dad dearly, but, like, part of his and I, like, called him out for this. I was there on Saturday after I gave my grandma her bath. I was like, Dad, why are you using the pandemic as an excuse to lean into your agoraphobic tendencies and never leave the house again? And he just kind of, like, looked at me like, really, we're doing this? Like, and he looked at my mom like, we're doing, because I'm that kid. I feel bad for my parents. I think that I am that kid for sure. I'm a real pain in their ass. But the black sheep of the family. I wouldn't even say the black sheep. I think it's like, I think that I'm, like, I am beloved, and, like, nobody, like, I do feel like for some periods of my life, though, it was like the we don't talk about brew, no energy. But I think at this point it's like I'm delightful and fun, and they like that I'm, like, doing something different. It wasn't always that way, but I think that now that it's working out for me, they're
once
like,
they see them,
yeah, exactly. But it's like, my mom and dad, and it's like I think it's because it's the perfect storm of, like, my dad doesn't want to go anywhere that's too far, as well as, like, the pandemic. But then it's like my dad is very dedicated to going to Orlando, Florida once a year every year. Like he's not missed that.
Yeah.
But he like won't come to Chicago to see a show. It's like one of those things that I'm just like, I really don't understand you and it's not worth fighting you on. But like, yeah.
A theme I'm seeing here, it keeps getting brought up, is well, okay. I wrote things down. I'm sure you've been seeing me writing.
I'm like, what? I'm like, what is he writing down?
Here, I will speak for a little bit and I'll bring it back to a question. Okay. We talked a little bit at the Laugh Factory, in the green room. Oh, yeah. And I think we talked a little bit about my perception of you when I very first saw you. And so this is going to come full circle, I think.
Okay.
I believe my perception was initially knee-jerk reaction negative to the music stuff because I'm a pompous comedian and everything needs to be my way, otherwise it's wrong. And then in talking with, and that was the only time I'd ever seen, I don't think we'd ever really spoken.
Yeah.
And then talking in the green room and then hearing your passion for music specifically and hearing, I believe it was Bill Burr was one of you guys.
Yeah.
Hearing Bill Burr was one of your guys, realizing that this wasn't a gimmick that you were doing, that this is you and this is how you express yourself genuinely. Yeah. It made me realize, I've realized a lot through this podcast that I'm incredibly judgmental in a really negative way. But it made me realize like, oh, okay, this comedy thing, even if I don't get it, even if it's not how I would go about it, one, it's objectively working for you, and two, it's what makes you happy as an artist. And I've as I've come to learn about myself as an individual, I've now grown to appreciate other individuals, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then this will come around. And so the other thing, you kept bringing up this relationship with men and women and all of that, and I have had a terrible relationship with women. Terrible relationship with women, and I've also learned recently in moving here, I have a phobia of white women specifically.
I think we talked about this in the green room as well, but
did we?
Just a touch, but carry on.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, the phobia. Let me write this down. I don't want to forget. White women, and so in this podcast and hearing you, you have such a relentless, positive, energetic positivity about you. Like even the way you dress, you're just a big old rainbow of a human. And
thank you.
I wonder if, I guess to bring this all the way through, your relationship with men, it keeps getting brought up. I keep hearing this. What, like, and as someone who's attracted to men, but sounds like you struggle with that. What did that ramble? Is it working? Does it make sense? Should I elaborate?
Yeah, I feel like you're like, it's like, is my positive energy like masking some stuff, or okay. So the men stuff, I think it's like, the one thing I will say, I'll throw in the mix is like, gender is a construct. And like, you know, like I said, growing up, I was around many different types of relationships, like women, men, men and men. Like non-binary person with, like, I got to see all of that play out in real time. And it's like, I know that like anybody can be toxic in a relationship, but I think that like what I was always seeing growing up was cis white men being toxic in relationships. And so that's something that like I'm trying to like not just have a phobia of, because it's like the way you have a phobia of white women, I have a phobia of like cis straight men. Like when I show up at whatever comedy club and I'm like there and like none of my close female friends are there, no people of color are there, and it's just a bunch of like the usual types. Like I'm not gonna like name any, but it's like when it's like the usual types of like cis straight white dudes, I literally feel like uncomfortable, and they probably all think that I'm like being a bitch because I'm not going up and saying like hi and like being all like, I kind of just get tunnel vision and will like go straight to the green room and kind of just like go, because they just make me anxious, because it's just like I've not had great experiences with that group of people, and it's like I know that it's not fair for me to assume the worst, but it's like in my general experience I've had to have my guard up around that group of people. And I think it's like something I really try to do in my comedy is I try to like look at these relationships and these situations and like equally make fun of myself as well as these dudes, because I think it's like a lot of female comedians before me, or even comedians who just comment on this same type of stuff, have made it very like, oh, I'm such a dumb little whore. It's like, no, I'm proud of who I am as a person. I'm not gonna like make fun of myself in a way that's too disparaging. Like
right.
people are gonna know that I like myself, but I am also gonna like be realistic about the role I played, the role that was played by that, and just like, yeah.
I like the balance. And you said that you like yourself. Is that new? That feels like that's a new thing.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd say that's very new. And it's like, I think of like Ashley Graham, the model Ashley Graham, beautiful, beautiful woman, someone I love a lot. It was interesting. I was listening to her being interviewed on like, I forget what it was, but in one of her interviews for a podcast, she was talking about how like when she first moved to New York to get into modeling, she slept with like half of New York. That was a joke she made, but she was just like, I realize like now that I've like healed and like am actually loving myself, that the reason why I was like seeking out these sort of like insincere quick relationships was because like I was trying to fill that like hole in my heart. Yeah, but I was gonna say, yeah, but I was gonna say like that. I was gonna say hole, yes, but I was gonna say void was the word I was looking for in my mind. Better one, yeah. She was trying to fill that void, and it was like the only thing that could ever actually fill that void is like love and respect for yourself. Because if you don't have love and respect for yourself, you can't have love and respect for other people. You can't have love and respect for your craft. You just there's just no improving. And I think that like when I finally started to like myself and like I'm getting close, like I'm like love myself, I was like, we're getting there. But it's like it's so much easier now for me to just like brush off. Like when somebody tells me somebody was talking shit about me, or somebody tells me somebody doesn't like me, or like when you had said your very honest thing of like when I first met you, I thought your shit was phony. It's like I can't take that personally, because it's like I know where I've been, that it's like I can understand somebody else, you know, like misunderstanding me, because it's like I don't have control over how you interpret me. I only have control over what I put out. Like I have no control over how you receive it. So
what did I say about white? Do you remember what I said? Because this whole loving yourself thing, I have something to say about that too. But first, what do you remember what I said about it? The phobia?
I think that you had just said you'd had like negative experiences. Yeah. And then I think you might have drawn a comparison between like your upbringing in some facet, but I might be completely wrong on that.
Okay. I'll tell you the story. Okay. I'll tell you the story when the mic is off, because it's an aggressive one.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I'm
ready for the behind the scenes of this podcast, everybody. Yes. I will not be posting or telling you what happened, but I will know, and none of you will.
Thank you. I think I am in the process of I'm starting to like myself.
Hell yeah.
And it feels very nice.
Congratulations. It does. No, welcome. It's like, it's so good.
Yeah. It and I think part of that is understanding myself. And one of the things with this, the white women phobia stuff, is I'm realizing I seem to be, take what I say with a grain of salt, because I'm literally in the transition period of my life of figuring this out.
Yeah.
But I seem to be sexually attracted to white women and romantically attracted to black women. And, ooh, this is a face you're making at me. I don't know what this face is.
I'm just processing this information. I'm processing. Carrie, finish what you're saying, though.
In that there is a... And how do I put this? There's a comfort that there's a warmth around black people that I feel in general, and with black women there's a something nurturing about that, and then there is a it's not comfort. It's a when you're used to something or when you're around something a lot, like I've just been around white people my whole life, so I understand white people fairly well, I'd say, and white women. And I swear I will figure out my point here. I fucking swear I will, because I'm processing this.
Yeah, as you say it. Yeah.
How do I put it? Okay. I'll bring it towards you a little bit then, because you're on the podcast. My initial negative response to your performance, I think, is unfair, and then in talking to you and realizing just how very supportive and sweet and nice you are, it was humanizing. Like, when I meet white people, they are not human. That's what it is.
Which is why it's like when it comes to like sexualization, you're like, oh, that's like yummy, that's interesting, that's da da da. Whereas it's like, if they're not human, you're like not actually interested in building a legitimate partnership with that person.
Right.
Whereas like black women, you see like
I see
a future with them.
And so I think we're figuring this out together, man. But I think I don't view white people as human when I first see them until they prove to me that they are a safe person to be around.
When I think that that's completely legitimate, given the fact that like I'm trying to quote this correctly because my friend, I have one of my best friends from college. I remember we were tripping on mushrooms for my birthday. It was probably like summer 2019.
Yeah.
And it was like me, him, and my other friend Shaylin. And Shaylin and I are both like queer white women. Yeah. He's a black gay man. Yeah, yeah. And so he was getting really emotional about, like, for whatever reason, the shrooms took us to an emotional, deep talk place.
Was that your first shroom trip? Or?
No. It was like...
You're a professional.
I was a little bit of a professional by then. And I was like, you guys are my best friends. I love you. It's my birthday. Let's please do this for my birthday. So we we ended up back at PJ's, and he was saying that it's like, he was comparing the experience of being black in America to like being contained within like a glass ornament. And it's like you're being pulled in all these different directions and you feel constantly on edge and like you're about to break. And so it's like, he's like, it makes me so sad. He's like, because honestly, he's like, I don't fuck with straight cis white men anymore. He's like, I don't. He's like, I've had so many bad experiences with them. I can't even see them as people because I just have to protect my energy and protect myself because I've had so many bad experiences. And he's like, it makes me really sad because it's like, he's like, so many of my friends and family, like the first, the second, the third white person they interacted with was somebody racist, somebody fucked up. And he's like, and they never get to like experience being friends with people like you too. Mm-hmm. Like they never get to meet those kind of white people. And he's like, it makes me really exhausted and really sad because it's like we shouldn't have to wait until our fourth, fifth, sixth white person to like meet a decent white person. Like we have to be that guarded that some of us never even like are able to develop relationships with white people. And I was like, when he said it to me, it literally like we were all, I mean, we were on mushrooms. I think even if we weren't on mushrooms, like, yeah, we were all just like sobbing together because it's just like, you know, he's our friend and we love him. And it's like for him to admit to us, like, I'm so glad y'all were like the second and third white people that I like interacted with coming to college. Cause it's like, I honestly like most white people I interacted with after y'all two, I was like, no, I'm good. Like I never need to do this again. To
jump off of that. And then probably more from your perspective is that I think what perked my ears over and over again, cause you kept bringing up men is I feel, God damn dog. Speakers are going. I don't know if they can hear that one.
Like, bah. It's like, it's Sunday, the sun's shining.
Have you ever been in a car when the bass is all the way up and you feel it in your heart and chest? You feel it.
Or like
so good.
You're in a different car, but you still feel it in your heart and chest. Yeah. Your bass is out. You're like, dude, like, what is going on in your life? Like, are you...
Do you listen to Too Short at all? Do you remember
No, I was like, after this, I'm going to go... I'm sorry. I literally only listened to musical theater soundtracks until I was 18 years old. So I'm working on having better taste in music.
Can I please send you music?
Yes.
Oh,
please send me music. Because I'm always asking for music because I just like am just an idiot. Like not an idiot, and I'm not saying that in a mean way to myself. It's just like for me, it's like I feel like usually if I'm listening to something on my phone, I'm listening to like news or affirmations, and I love new music. I just am not usually seeking it out because I'm really lucky to have friends like you who just send me stuff, and then that becomes my new thing that I listen to.
Okay. So, we'll do music stuff later, but I will bring this all back. Okay, so the Me Too movement was horrifying and eye-opening for me, where what I try to do, I've been growing up using compare and contrast to figure out the world. And I think that can be useful, and other times it's really not healthy. Like when I see you or when I see other people on Instagram, I literally saw Brandon Kiefer at the Comedy Bar, and I was like, good for him, but fuck him though, because I'm not there. Like that's that's my reaction to it. So I need to work on the whole compare and contrast thing. But when I saw the Me Too movement, and my initial reaction was very like, not all men, bro, not all of us, man. And then as more accusations came out, more of my female friends brought up shit. And then I had a very close friend. We used to be in a relationship. No, I have not raped anybody. But she she was like, there was a point where you made me really uncomfortable. And she told me this story, and I did not even remember, because it wasn't anything weird to me.
Yeah.
Whatever I did, I can't remember what I did, but I made her uncomfortable. And I compare that to the black experience of like, there's this thing that keeps happening to you over and over again, and you try to word it and try to explain it. You try to be logical. You try to be honest. You try all these ways to be like, hey, just listen. And so hearing all those stories was very saddening, and it makes me feel like that fear and that reaction that I have to white people in general is what I would imagine you have in a gut feeling with a man. Like, I don't know what I don't know what was your first impression of me? Do you remember?
I just thought you had like a really warm energy. You had like a warm, down to earth energy. And I was like, oh, he seems like a nice dude. Like, I hope he gets up at the mic. Cause it's like some people, I only ran the mic for that 1 month, and now Grace Baylor runs it, and Grace is amazing. You guys should all go Tuesdays at the Laugh Factory. But, yeah, I just think some people kind of came up and like were not interested at all in like me more than a means to an end to like, you know, put your name in that. But you seem to genuinely be like, hi, I'm Aaron. Like, you know, you shook my hand, you like made eye contact. I was like, oh, like this guy seems like, you know, like a nice, warm dude. Yeah, I feel like that was my main first impression. I was just like, oh, he seems nice. I hope, you know, he gets to go up.
My impression was dickish then.
Well, I mean, it's like, but honestly, it's like, honestly, and I said like, I've said honestly 3 or 4 times now. Honestly, honestly. I mean, so many people don't like what I do and have talked shit and now kiss my ass. Like 100%. I'm just gonna be honest. Like I have memories of like, but like people saying like negging ass shit. Like, you know, I hate musical comedy, but like you really got something going on there. It's like, or like people would like be at the bar and be like, I fucking hate that she does this. It's so dumb. Like not realizing my friends were there. And then it's like, they would realize like somebody that's close to me there and then be like, oh yeah, she's killing it. Like a week later. And it's like, you know, I just can't worry about that. I really can't worry about it. And I can't, it's like I said already, I can't worry about how people perceive me. I heard recently that like somebody like doesn't like me because I was gatekeeping them when they started. And it's just like, I know myself. I know that's not true. Right. That's obviously a projection. Like everyone I talked to talks about how warm and inviting and kind I've been to them. And that's what I want to do. Cause I feel like if you win, I win, everybody wins. Like I try to lift up everybody in the comedy scene. So it's like, when I hear stuff like that, I'm just like, okay, like somebody misunderstood me, or like maybe it was one of those days where I was like, I was anxious to be there. And so I was in my own head and they took it personally. Like it's, you can't.
I have more questions about your career now. Yeah, you're doing it. You're being a comedian.
I'm like, I'm trying to do it.
How does it feel? Because it feels like you are on track to eventually be able to quit your day job.
That is my goal. I will say that is my thing. I'm manifesting in my bathtub. I was joking to Vikram Balaji last night. I was saying I now know that like you have to either literally like take enough medicine to be unconscious or like have somebody hold you down to drown, because I was meditating in my bathtub and I was so relaxed that I like fell asleep, and then I felt like the water just like here, and I was like like I shot awake, and I'm like, oh, like immediately your body goes into like fight. I didn't know that until I was in the situation where I fell asleep in my bathtub. But yes, that is what I would like to happen. Yes. That's what I mean, my first friends in comedy, like Mark Lavelle, Radescu Hopkins, Ed Towns, all called me the long-winded ass bitch. They were always like, Jamie, just get to the point. And it is something that I still cannot do.
It's perfect for fun. Podcasting. What does that feel like? Because right now, I'll talk about myself, and then, you know, right now escaping the hell that is where I was from. And coming here, it feels like, oh, the ball's rolling now. Like I was, this is gonna be a weird example, but did you ever play Sonic as a kid?
I did not, but my sisters played it, and I would watch them play it.
Do you remember when you would load up Sonic?
Yeah.
It feels like I was loading up, and now I'm here, and now it's going.
Yes.
And where are you mentally with this? It must be surreal, right?
It's very surreal.
Yeah.
I know, like for me, last week was a great week, obviously, because I got the news that I'm gonna get to audition for Just for Laughs, which like a lot of people are gonna get to do it in Chicago that are really funny and that I love and like haven't got to do it yet as well. So I'm like, yeah, we like huge win for all of us. But it was like, I remember seeing that email and I was just like, you guys can't see my face, but I'm doing like a jaw drop because it's like I always like, of course, I would see other people audition and I would think to myself like, I'm excited to get to do that. And, you know, whichever way it goes, it's just, it's a huge confidence boost to be like for consideration for that. But, yeah, I would say it feels surreal. Like when people, come up to me after shows and like say kind things, I try my best to be really present and just like take it. Cause there is that little voice in my head that wants to be like, they're full of shit. You're a fucking asshole. You're not funny. You do music. Fucking die. Like there's that voice in my head, but I always try to like kill that. And listen, like really listen to what they're saying and be present. Like I know, last night after CG is one of my favorite memories of the night. It's like DJ Rivsky's girlfriend came with her family, and her family went out to pull up the car, and I was like it's his girlfriend, and she turns to me, she's like, Jamie, she's like, I just want to tell you that, a few months ago, like you did a show with DJ, and he had like tagged you in his story, and I like went to your Instagram. And it was like 1 or 2 in the morning. And I watched like every video on your Instagram. And I just love you. And I think you're so funny. And I just, when DJ told me you were on the show tonight, I literally was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity. And it just made me like, to have somebody come to me with that kind of energy, like so excited about what I do. It kind of boosts me up in the way that it's like, I will never let the people who don't like what I do get to me, because it's like there's that person who like I stayed up till 2 a.m. watching all your, you know what I mean, like it's like she should have gone to bed, really. That was a school night, she should have gone to bed, but she was so engaged with what I do that she watched all my dumb little videos on my page. And so I was like, it's like that. And I feel like it is such a fun experience because so many male comedians, their girlfriends love me, and they'll go up to like the guy, they'll go up to them and be like, oh honey, great time, and they'll be like, Jamie, I just want to say, like, and it just like, it is such a good feeling of like, because it's like a lot of times, and this isn't the case with DJs always have my back, but a lot of times I'll see these dudes who like I know didn't like that I was doing music initially, and I know we're like weird with it, and then seeing their girlfriends like obsessed with me, I kind of get to like, I feel like I'm in the office like looking at the camera like, isn't it ironic, you know, like it's like, because I think the thing is, it's like people don't understand that like obviously I'm a woman, I'm a queer woman, so the stuff I write is gonna pander to people like me or who is gonna find it funny, like other white women, people of color, other women in general. That's who it's gonna really hit with. And so it's like, I think that especially, and again I'm back to talking about men, but I feel like when men have like said things about my stuff in the past that it's not funny, it's like, no, it's not funny to you. And that's something I try to remember as well, about like if I see a comedian that maybe, you know, like I don't get it, if the audience is laughing, it doesn't matter if I don't get it. If the audience is laughing, they're funny. Like that's just kind of, you know what I mean? Like they had a funny set. If the audience is laughing, they had a funny set. It doesn't matter if I personally wasn't laughing, if other people were laughing.
Now that is something that, okay, getting in the weeds. Okay, so I went going to Indiana.
Yes.
Right? And it was my first time being out of Chicago in the past 7 months.
Oh my God. So yeah. It was like a change of pace.
It was a great change of pace, and it made me realize, one, I'm really glad I left where I was from, because there was a clear ceiling I was hitting with my skills, and I needed to be in a bigger space. And then two, I was like, oh, I must have gotten much better, because this is really bad. No offense to a lot of the comics I saw, but I was thinking, I was watching and I was comparing, because that's what I do. I was comparing.
A judgmental earth sign? No. Crazy.
I see your crystal. But I thought about you actually, and I thought about some other comedians I saw, which when I first saw them, I wasn't a fan. And then I was thinking about, well, why am I reacting this way to these people? Am I doing the same thing? And I don't think I am, because it wasn't that I didn't get it. It was that the skill level wasn't there, and that they. How do I put this? If you see a comic that other people are laughing and you just don't get it, that's fine. And I'm learning how to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm also trying to discern, like, okay, is this person good at comedy in general? Yeah. Was there a point to what the fuck I've just brought up? I don't think so. I'm working on it.
But I think it's just like, it's the sort of thing. It's like when you leave Chicago and work the road, you're kind of having to, like, you're forced to work a different skill set, as well as just like, and like, I love the Market Lounge. I love everybody there, but I think it's just like what you're seeing is just sort of like, it's just anywhere that you go where they only have 1 or 2 mics in the area per week, they're just not able to get in as many licks as like Chicago. There's a mic every single night. Like, if you wanted to go, you could work on your stuff every single night. And so it's like, I wouldn't say like, it's just everybody's in a different point in their journey right now.
Yes, you're wording it much less like an asshole than I am right now. I'm wording this like a dickhead, but the way you just said it is what I mean, which is an issue. What is it? Because I'm an earth sign? Is that what's wrong with me?
I was joking. No, there's nothing wrong with you. I was just joking. It's just because it's like a lot of people I know who are earth signs are very like just like to the point, no bullshit, like see things very cut and dry. Whereas like, I mean, I'm just a little, just, it's all, well, it's like, I mean, when I started, like, I had very clear idea of like, very clear idea is not a real way to say that. I had a very clear idea of what I could see in my mind so clearly, like, this is what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't there yet. I didn't have the confidence level to be there. Mm-hmm. I felt very like people didn't like what I was doing. And I was worried about like, oh, I want the comics in the back to think I'm cool. And they don't think I'm cool. And it just like completely fucked with my head. And so it's like, that's why I do, like, I don't want anybody who was like maybe on that thing with you to listen to this and be like, oh, it's just like, no, nobody sucks. It's just like, it takes a really long time to get good at this. And it's like, sometimes you live in an area that like, doesn't allow the level of work you need to be doing to really, really hone this. And so it's like, I think of like, I met a guy at like a barbecue in 2019 because my husband made friends with these like Serbian people that, which
you're married?
Yeah. I was like, I'm married. We're in an open relationship. It's like, nobody ever meets Tom because it's not even that like, I like lock him in a cage or anything. It's just that he does not love the energy of being around comedians sometimes. That's fair. Which is like,
we're aggressive.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's the kind of thing where it's like, he'll come to shows if it's something that's like a really important show to me and I really want him to be there. But in general, he's like, who's on the lineup? What's the venue? Oh, it's that venue? I don't want to go to that venue. Oh, this person's on the show? I don't want to have to talk to them at the bar for 2 hours. So it's like, he'll come, but like, or I even know, like the most recent one he came to, I feel like he like, because the other thing is my husband is like on the spectrum and has like undiagnosed ADHD. So it's like sometimes he rubs people the wrong way. And then he's like the whole car ride home, he's like, oh, that person. I'm like, no, comics are just so fucking tightly wound up for the most part that it's like you could like look at them wrong and they would be like, whoa, what a fucking and it's like, I was like, Tom, you didn't do anything except exist, and they just like don't understand you. So
can I ask about that, your relationship, or is that something?
Okay, that's okay, that's fine.
So when you guys got together, did you decide to have it? Was that how did that?
No, it kind of honestly it naturally transitioned to that, just because it was like, as we were like together for an elongated period of time, I kind of was realizing within myself that I like identified as polyamorous. And so I kind of had like presented to him, I was like, hey, I would really like to like explore this. And he initially was like, no fucking way.
It's understandable.
Which like, yeah. And he was really upset. And so I was like, okay, cool. And then it's like, I think that after that conversation, we had like some really kind of difficult times where it's like, I had a tryst, he had a tryst, we had to like work through that. A tryst. What is it that I want to do, like what Jada Pinkett said? I had an entanglement with August. Yeah, we both had our own entanglements, and then we had to like revisit the conversation of like, okay, well, this is clearly something that we're both at least interested in. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we love each other enough that we would rather have this be like an open, honest conversation than like I'm not somebody who is good at lying. I can't like sneak around with like it hurts my heart. Like,
you're too colorful to lie.
Yeah, it adds this like dark, heavy weight to my aura and my energy, and I was just like, I can't carry this. Like I remember even like the person that I was like having the entanglement with, I finally was just like, look, like I can't continue to do this. I can't. I have to untangle from you, because it's just like it. And it's like, it's funny because it's like people who I was close to when I first started were aware of it and were very kind of hard on me about like, you need to fucking figure out what you want and stop doing this shit. And so it's like, I even recently have had like people who I don't want to like name it, but I've had people who have been having like difficult times with like wanting to cheat or like and I've had to be like kind of give them the same tough love of like, look, like either you have a conversation that you want to be in an open relationship and be honest with that person, or you don't be together anymore, because it's just like it's really not worth like ruining something. And it's like, I'm like, it didn't ruin my situation. We worked through it. We're in a really great place now. It's like, it's funny because it's like I will say like Tom is kind of a little bit more able to date right now. Like I'm just busy. I feel like my side piece is comedy right now. Like I don't really have the mental energy or capacity. Like I would love to like meet somebody cool and have a fun little romance. It just hasn't gone that way for me. And I think it's like, I'm a little guarded in terms of like, I talked about like, I don't like hate straight white men. I don't like avoid them at all costs, but I would say like, I do have an energy around, I would say men in general. I have an energy of like, my house is open. There's an open door policy. You can walk through, but like my security cameras are on. Like I'm keeping an eye on you.
I love,
like okay. I'll be open. I'll be vulnerable, but I am keeping an eye on you.
That is, oh my God. That is, okay. Yeah, yo. Yes, queen. Yo, that is a perfect metaphor for the way I also view white people in general, white women, white men, depending on the situation. Yeah. Like, I will talk to you. I'll get to know you. I want to get to know you. You're a person. You're a human. But I am watching you. I'm watching you, what you do. I'm watching how you say things. I'm watching who you're interacting with. I'm watching who the fuck you vote for. Like, I'm watching.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm watching, and it's like not even necessarily in like a judgmental way. Like, yeah. It's just like the camera's on. Yeah. I'm recording this information.
Security cameras aren't it's a protection.
It's like, I'm recording this information. If I see you're robbing my house, I'm just going to keep that in mind and not invite you over anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I'm just aware of what you're presenting.
Yes, exactly. yes. We're vibing, man.
Yeah, we've been.
But the reason I asked about the polyamorous thing is I too am, and
sick. I never. When I meet other polyamorous
Shaka.
people, I'm like, chill.
No, and well, it's been difficult because I think the way it's perceived is not always very good.
I mean, I literally, I've heard so many people do like jokes about polyamory that just like make it seem like we're swingers or having like sex parties or just like huge sluts. And it's like, no, it's like, we love more than one people. Like it's like, we want to have like deep, meaningful connections.
I'm a huge slut, but to be
fair.
I'm
a slut too, but like, it's like, I mean, to quote, when I was in Columbus with Adam Addis and Zacho got this amazing video of me going like, Adam, if you're going to be a slut, you have to be ethical about it. You have to be ethical. And like, I was like, cool. You're recording me. I'm glad. I'm serious. You have to be ethical. And then like, he panned the camera to Adam and Adam's like, slut life.
I need to talk to Zach. I want to do the podcast with him eventually. Just a side note. Yeah. I'm speaking out loud. But the thing I ran into, one of the things I'm again, take what I say with a grain of salt. Transition. Yeah. I think my ideal relationship, would be me and two other women. And the thing I would run into when I would say that is, I remember when I first started having this idea, a buddy of mine was like, you should get on like a chat room with polyamorous people and discuss that. And I did, and they all called me a sexist piece of shit, and that I was mansplaining, and I should kill myself and all that stuff. And I was like, this doesn't seem like an inviting community at all. And what frustrates me is when I say that, when I describe that, they think like, oh, so you just want two bitches. It's like, no. This is a relationship. These people could break up with me. That's like.
That's what it. Yeah, that's the reality of it.
Right. And so I guess so far it sounds like it's been working for you and Tom. Is it?
Yeah, I would say it's been working fairly well. I think that it was something that it's like we definitely had to like work out the bumps at first, because it's just like, you know, you're taking like an already established relationship and adding a new layer to it, and there has to be like you have to be communicating even more effectively. You have to be like even more open to being vulnerable, even more patient in terms of like when you're having a conversation, it not immediately going to a place of we're on opposing sides. It has to be like, how can we solve the problem? The one thing I was gonna say, is it possible that I could go pee, like pause and go to the bathroom, or is this just like, okay? Is that okay? I'm just like,
yeah, I'll stop it right now.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay,
we're back. Small bladder.
What we were talking about, relationships and love, man, is so words. You know?
Words. Yeah. So words, you know, no, I was like, when also to draw back to like my family stuff is like, I don't want to expose my parents, but I think that like they had their own issues with infidelity when I was growing up, and I was very directly exposed to that. And so I think because of that, it's just for me, I'm like, I don't think monogamy was going to be for me, because it was just something that the way in which it was presented to me was that it doesn't work. And I think it can work for some people. I just don't think, I want to like keep the person that I care for from like exploring other people and like having relationships with other people. And like, I want them to actively want to be there. You know what I mean? Like, I think that I'm trying to find a way to articulate what I'm trying to say.
Human beings are complicated, and we have tried to creating a society, you need boundaries and boxes.
Absolutely.
And
true.
And unfortunately, the people who've created those boundaries and boxes are the fucking white man. But it's like
it is to their benefit to have wives who aren't allowed to
do things
with anybody else.
And yeah, it's a whole thing. And now that, I mean, as time has gone by and as people like us have gotten more freedom, those boxes and boundaries are expanding more. Mm-hmm. And I think that that it started to sound like I had a really good point. And it sounded like I was on track.
We were really good in there.
I feel like you take a really long time to get to a point, and then I sound like I have a really good point, and then it just drops off.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I do finally get to my point, but it just takes me 20 to 30 minutes to get to that point.
You were just, in moving out here, I'm trying to find, I've talked about this a few times on the podcast, I'm trying to find my tribe. Yeah. I'm trying to find these people that just get me, and I'm trying to be respectful to maybe those who don't, and I'm trying to be understanding of those that hate me, which I know there are.
And you're just like, God bless you. Get well soon, hon. Yeah. Okay. That's like my energy. I'm always like, get well soon.
Oh no, I had a moment where trying to word things. I'll just explain that at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, another sidebar.
Story. Yeah, other story. They're connected.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm like, I love a little tea, because I am like Gretchen Wieners, and my hair is full of secrets, and because people, I just think, I joke about it in the song, but I do have like that energy where people just tell me things. Yeah. People will just tell me their shit, and I'm like, I'm never gonna share that. It's not my business or my place to share that story, but it's like, I do feel grateful that people feel so comfortable telling me their shit.
Yeah, it's the story. First off, to whoever potentially listening, if you're worried, no, I'm not going to say anyone's name, even when I tell you off the thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't want. I want to live in a sense of peace. And
same.
And I'm a chaotic person. You seem to be as well. And I think that our upbringings, I'm going to put words in your mouth, so just tell me if I'm wrong here, but our upbringings were not conducive for peace.
I would agree with that assessment.
Yeah. Yes. And like, I have an issue with wanting to gossip. I have an issue with wanting to be like, did you hear about who said this to such and such person? Yeah. And it's like, that's not productive. It's just going to make your life exhausting, but it's in me.
And I would say, like, I'm somebody that's like, whenever somebody tells me tea or like, or talks, like tells me tea or talks shit to me, I'm always like, you joked when you like, you said that in such a positive way. Like, I will always reframe it to try to like get the other person's point of view. Like, you have to really fucking do me dirty for me to have shit to say.
Yeah.
And it's like, I in general, like if I have friends who like do need to vent to me sometimes and do need to gossip to me, and like I do find those interactions somewhat draining sometimes. They bum me out. I don't like to see the worst in people. I would rather see the best in people. I did want to really quickly get back to the polyamorous relationship things, because I just remembered I had a friend who like had matched with a girl on an app who was polyamorous, and I remember he was like, how am I even supposed to approach this? I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. Like, I'm worried that I'm gonna be jealous or it's not gonna work. And I basically like had whatever I'd said to him. I don't know that I could like even search through my messenger and find it, but it was like something along the lines of like, if you love somebody and you like are like using a tree as a metaphor, and I'm not, this is gonna sound dumber when I say it out loud, but I was like, you know, like if you're rooted in each other, if that person is like a root energy for you, that's completely like unrelated to you like exploring or like growing a new branch with somebody else. You know what I mean? Like it's like that relationship should not mean that this relationship isn't strong and beautiful in what it is. And so it's like, I think that like the way that we've made things so black and white with relationships is just not conducive to like modern society. Like the reason why monogamy was put in place was to like join countries and like build families and it was a business thing. It was a family, like, I'm sorry, daughters were family businesses.
Yeah.
You fucking gave your daughter away for some fucking oxen and in some
Remember when
coins.
China had the one kid rule, and it's now fucked their ratio because they were like, well, we can't have this vagina meet here, and they just throw that shit out. Like, it's sorry, I don't know. It's a yeah, I know what you mean. And the thing is, it's like they have proven like throughout history that like, yeah, like they when it was no longer, I got this all from like a Netflix Explains Monogamy, and they basically said like when it was no longer like to join countries, or it was no longer like, you know, parents giving their daughters away, they sold the idea of the happily ever after, the white picket fence, because it's like more productive for business if a man has somebody at home to take care of everything. Yep.
They're going to have a better employee and better business if there's a wife at home to look after the family and raise the kids and cook the food. And it's just not, I just don't think it's relevant to like the society we live in.
Here's the let me see if I can do my positive flip to that, and that is you know, man, if that life makes you happy, man, you know, if you want a white picket fence, man, if you want to come home and unloosen your tie, say, honey, I'm home, and get a whiskey and sit there in your armchair while your little ones come around with their pop guns. This is getting stupid. Anyway,
no, but it's like, if you, I mean, and I'm not,
if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not bashing the people who it works for. I am just saying that it's like silly to create a standard and say this is going to work for everybody, because that's just not realistic. We've proven that in the classroom with students. We've proven that like standardized learning and standardized tests don't work for everybody to prove intelligence. So why would it not be the same, you know, thing applying to relationships? Right.
I have a question for you.
Yes, I'm scared, but go on.
You should always be scared when I have a question, because sometimes it doesn't work. Oh, but before I get to that question, I think you bring up Taurus, earth signs, waves. There are times where when I'm present, I'm able to articulate information very, very well. As soon as I'm not present or I'm not in the pocket, it gets worded wrong.
Yeah.
And it's mostly me saying it for whatever reason. Someone listens to the whole thing. If I've said anything that's wrong, that's why. Like, usually my intentions are pretty good, actually, but it's just the way I word things. I think it was how I was spoken to as a kid, was just so angry and aggressive all the time that now I word things in such a way that's just not palatable. Yeah. But my question is, there's more